Hey, ladies and gentlemen, RazorMouth here. So, where are we? What have we been told since the outset, since the wee hours of November 4th? Remember, if we can go back in time, it's just been about a week. This was right after President Trump had that press conference in which he declared that he was the legitimate winner, that he was way ahead in the polls, and that the Biden team were systematically stealing votes from him. I'm actually on a website right now called everylegalvote.com. You notice, by the way, let me just jump over here. This is real clear politics. Yesterday, they had demoted President-elect Biden by taking away Pennsylvania. And today, they've put Pennsylvania back on the map for President-elect Joe Biden. Of course, he's president-elect of nothing. I wonder if all of the media lackeys were giving them so much grief that they decided to put that back up for him. Now, we all know that state is being contested right now. In fact, that state is being contested. Michigan is being contested. Wisconsin's being contested. Georgia's being contested. Now, interestingly, North Carolina apparently has been called for President Trump, but real clear politics doesn't want to put it up there. So people, don't waste your time with these buffoons. And they really are buffoons because they're selective in what they want to report. You know that, I know that. So if you're looking for something that's legit, go to this website, which says everylegalvote.com. The reason I like it is because they'll show you the difference. You see, this is the outcome when you press this tab with voter fraud. Look at that. Joe Biden jumps up to 306 electoral votes, and President Trump is at 232. Without voter fraud, it's reversed. So there you have it. This is the actual current status right now because all of these states are in contestant mode. That means they are being litigated, and we have to wait for the outcome. So nothing has been called. Okay. At this point, President Donald J. Trump is the president and will remain so. And it's just a matter of time till we find out the actual status of the 2020 election. But anyways, I digress. The point I want to make here is, what have we been told? Well, we've been told all along that, well, there was no evidence of voter fraud. And then the lackeys and the turncoats started spewing that message. Well, then over time, last week and over the weekend, suddenly evidence of voter fraud, voter irregularities started popping up. And now that Giuliani and Sidney Powell and Jay Sekulow and a variety of other really great lawyers are litigating the case and bringing the case to the American people, the messaging is changing. I don't know if you've noticed this. The message is changing. In fact, it came out pretty clear. Now, I don't listen to Fox News anymore, but this was an interesting piece that Tucker brought forward. I just saw a clip of it, and I thought it'd be worth showing to you right here. Go, Tucker.
Just hours ago in the state of Georgia, an election official admitted they will find illegal votes and double voters when they check the voter rolls.
Let me be perfectly clear on another point. We are going to find that people did illegally vote. That's going to happen. Okay. There are going to be double voters. There are going to be people who did not have the qualifications of a registered voter to vote in the state.
Okay, so now, in the state of Georgia at least, they're admitting we're going to find evidence of voter fraud. Remember, for a better part of 3 days right after the election, the caterwauling from the left, the mainstream media, and even those lackeys in the Republican establishment was, there's no evidence of voter fraud. Now suddenly, we're discovering, oh, there's evidence of voter fraud. However, there's a caveat here. Here, listen to what this election official in the state of Georgia has to say.
That will be found. Is it 10,353? Unlikely. But every election, as I've said, I think every day at this podium, is imperfect.
So did you catch that? The so-called 10,000 and whatever amount of votes needed to reverse the impact of Joe Biden's lead in Georgia is unlikely. In other words, we've discovered voter fraud, but it's probably mathematically impossible to change the results. That's the new line. And I think Tucker mimics this line. Let's continue to play him.
We are going to find that people did illegally vote. That's going to happen. That is the official account before even counting the votes from a key swing state in the middle of a contested election. And of course, you can believe it because we've already found illegal voting. So much for those claims that voter fraud never happens. Of course it happens.
Yeah.
They knew it happened when they told us it would never happen because they're liars. So we know that for sure.
Right.
At this stage, the fraud that we can confirm does not seem to be enough to alter the election results. We should be honest and tell you that. Of course, that could change.
Okay, so, you know, Tucker, forget the Fox News media. Can't stand that organization. But Tucker's decent enough. But he falls prey. Now, I guess he has to do this. I don't know. I mean, listen, he has a choice. He doesn't need to do this. But obviously, he's mimicking the line that basically says it's mathematically impossible in light of all of the election fraud that we are uncovering to undo and change the net result of Joe Biden's lead. Okay, that's the line. In fact, that was the same line that was used yesterday on Sean Spicer's show. Sean Spicer was interviewing two individuals. One, I think, was Mark Halperin, former journalist for Bloomberg, who is now working with NewsMax. And they had some Democratic strategist hack. And I call her a hack because she's just mimicking the party line, right? And she basically, in her smirk little way, said, you know, here's the result. Yes, there was fraud. I admit it, but it's mathematically impossible to reverse the lead that Joe Biden has, even if we account for all the voter fraud and do away with it. That's the new line. And Tucker here and Sean Spicer apparently seem to acknowledge it. Here's the problem I have with that. You know, there's a proverb that says, do not answer a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him. In other words, what it's saying is, if you don't want to come across like a fool, don't accept the premise that your opponent is using. And the premise here is it's mathematically impossible. And the underlying premise is that, yes, there's voter fraud, but it's not systemic. It's not widespread enough. There's not enough of it to undo Joe Biden's lead. And that's the fundamental problem and flaw. I think Tucker and Sean Spicer and co. and all of these so-called conservative media personalities would do us proud if, when they're dealing with these Democratic hacks that come on their show and they're having a discussion, if they would at least give back and say to them, listen, we're not prepared to accept the premise of your argument. You've been lying to us systemically for the last 4 years. You've always been lying to us. You've been lying to us with the polls that came out prior to the election, indicating that there would be just a blue wave. You've been lying to us about the fact that there's no voter fraud. Well, now we find evidence. Why on earth should we believe you when you say it's mathematically impossible? We haven't seen all of the evidence yet, and that's the point. Is it mathematically impossible to reverse Joe Biden's fake lead? Well, that's a very interesting point. Now, I want to give out a special call to an individual by the name of Phyllis. I'm not going to name her last name, but Phyllis sent me something through Messenger on Facebook, and I looked into it, and I hadn't heard it. You probably have. I don't pretend to be a news journalist. I'm really just like you guys, and I'm not even a talking head. I don't want to become a talking head. I'm a consumer of news like you, and I bet you, like me, have found yourself yelling at your TV whenever you hear things that just don't jive. And a friend of mine said, would you stop yelling at your TV? If you've got things to say, just say it. So I decided to share it, as I'm doing with you guys right now. Anyways, Phyllis shared this link with me, and I think it's worth watching. And this is from an organization called True News. I just wanted to share a brief part of the clip here.
This is True News, the People's News Network. I'm Rick Wiles. Attorney Sidney Powell hours ago tweeted explosive information. If true, she has uncovered a massive election fraud operation that used software to magically create in cyberspace hundreds of thousands of fake votes that were awarded to Joe Biden in numerous U.S. states.
Now, did you hear that? Hundreds of thousands. We're not talking 10,000, which that election official in Georgia said, well, we're probably not going to cover 10,000. That would reverse Joe Biden's lead in Georgia. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of votes all across the United States in all of these significant battleground states that are currently undergoing litigation over this. That, if true, as this gentleman pointed out, would have a dramatic impact and certainly would curtail this next talking point of the left that says it's mathematically impossible. I checked this out because Sidney Powell, for those of you who don't know, is an attorney. She represented General Flynn and did a bang-up job representing him in his case of the United States, the Justice Department waging basically a personal attack using the power of government and the long reach of the justice to basically destroy this man's life. She was his attorney and has done just an amazing job in representing him and bringing him out of a lot of trouble. I mean, he's still dealing with it, and she's still representing him, but she's now got involved with this. And so I checked out her tweet, and this is it right here. This was issued 21 hours ago. Sidney Powell writes, "This is massive voter fraud. It is a feature built into the system by the company." Now, she's speaking of Dominion. I put a post of Dominion, this election service company that comes from Canada and has deep ties to Democratic operatives and higher-ups in the Democratic Party that have created this voter system and these machines and the software to run these machines, and these have been stationed around a lot of these battleground states. Anyways, the point is, it is a feature built into the system by the companies that own the machines and software. This was a deliberate attack on our country and the most important of rights held by citizens in our republic. But she goes on, apparently, to talk about how this is wide sweeping, nationwide, and will have a dramatic impact on the actual net results of the election, which is why this website here, everylegalvote.com, is just a great resource for you to use if you want to find out what's really going on, because it shows you Joe Biden's lead with voter fraud, and shows you all the states that are in blue, including Georgia. Look at that. And, of course, Pennsylvania. We already know he's got Virginia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada. And then the current status. See, these are all the states that are actually currently in question and are in the middle of litigation, which means they shouldn't be tabulated. And if that were the case right now, Joe Biden is not president-elect. In fact, Trump beats him. Trump beats him by almost 18 electoral votes. So this is the outcome. If you take away voter fraud, it's Trump's in a landslide again. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I don't purport to be an expert on everything. I'm just like you, a guy listening to the news, trying to take it all in, highly suspicious of what the talking heads keep telling us. Tired of conservative news commentators that don't fight back and just accept the premise that's being spit out there. I mean, even on NewsMax, I have to say this again, as good as they are, you got Mark Halperin. I don't want to dump on him, but this guy is not a Trump fan. He's just trying to be neutral, and neutrality, I think, is an impossibility in our current climate. He's talked about how, yes, there's voter fraud, there are irregularities, but I just don't see it. This is even impacting somebody like, come on, the no spin zone guy, Bill O'Reilly. I've been listening to him, and he's talking about, it looks like it's possibly Joe Biden's, Everybody seems to be jumping on that pathetic premise that it's mathematically impossible. That's only true if people like Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, Jay Sekulow, individuals that I believe have sincere integrity and aren't silly people running after conspiracy theories. I think they're seasoned, wise, discerning individuals who have indicated on the level that there is systemic voter fraud. For Giuliani, the issue is the mail-in ballots. They're illegitimate. Most of them are duplicates. And on top of that, they haven't even been presented in the legitimate way that the legislatures have allowed for mail-in ballots to be used. So you've got that problem. Sidney Powell, she's basically indicating the voter machines created fake votes for Joe Biden on a wide-scale level. These are two massive, massive accusations. If proven true, dispels the whole idea that it's mathematically impossible. So the whole argument that it's mathematically impossible falls on its head. Right now, we don't know anything until everything's brought to the light of day. And that's all I got to say. So I don't want to hear it anymore. NewsMax, Sean Spicer, could you tell your Democratic operatives that come on your show if they want to spew that line? Could you kick back, please, and tell them you don't know that. You don't know that it's mathematically impossible. In fact, it could very well be because there was wide-scale theft and fraud. And that's the line that we should hold right now. We shouldn't give a square inch to anybody in the national media spotlight because they're all liars and they've proven themselves to be that. And, well, that's my spew for the day, my so-called rant. Keep the faith, everybody. Trump will prevail.